Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining Education USA's lunchtime talk session. I'm Tomoko Silva, an advisor of Education USA Tokyo. To honor 75th anniversary of Fulbright program, today we have an American Fulbright fellow as a speaker. She's going to share her unique intercultural experiences, including studying abroad to Japan. Before introducing her, I would like to mention a few things. Well, I've been repeatedly saying Education USA, and you might wondering what it is. Education USA is a network of U.S. State Department to promote U.S. colleges and universities. More importantly, we support and encourage prospective students who are interested in studying abroad to United States. We organize sessions like this to provide you opportunity to ask questions and connect with 留学の先輩. Education USA has more than 400 centers all over the world. In Japan, there are 6 Education USA centers in the embassy and consulates. We also provide advising sessions, so if you have any questions, please reach out to your closest centers as listed. On a separate note, we need to mention that we are not able to answer Fulbright scholarship application related questions. If you have any questions, please contact Fulbright Japan Scholarship Division. The QR code and the link as shown. I believe the link is shared on the chat box as well. Finally, let me introduce today's speaker, Miss Yuki Minami. She is a 2018 Fulbright Fellow. She graduated from University of Tennessee Knoxville, and right now she is studying at University of Kyushu. Hi, Yuki.
Hi. Thank you so much for your introduction.
Thank you for participating. For one more thing I have to mention that I'm not sure how many of you know, but in America, people celebrate something every month in entire country. So the May as an Asian American and Pacific Island Heritage Month. Education USA usually have Japanese speakers for lunchtime talk session, but today we have Yuki. I'm so excited to have Yuki-san to highlight the Asian American Month, and also today is the World Cultural Diversity Day. How exciting that Yuki is sharing intercultural experiences with us. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but today, the World Cultural Diversity Day. So I'm pretty sure you all will come out with some questions for her. We're anticipating to see your questions on the Q&A box. So please write some questions and let's ask Yuki later. So enough talking for me. Let me hand it over to you, Yuki.
Thank you so much. I mean, you can talk a little bit more.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
I'm gonna share my screen. Wait,
please.
Okay, give me 1 second. And hopefully everybody can see it. And I'm gonna make it bigger. Wait, okay, so everybody can see, right? Yes, all right. So hi, nice to meet you. Well, I cannot actually see you, but it's really nice to see you online. So my name is Yuki Gabriela Minami. You can just call me Yuki. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what is a study abroad as non-traditional students. That is some topic that not many speak on like lectures or the event talks about, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what is non-traditional students and also talk about what it's like to be Asian American in Asia since it's Asian American month. We're gonna start. So a little bit about myself. I'm gonna move this one here since I cannot see. So this is me when I was in the military, and this is right next to the picture is myself, right? about 2 years ago, 1 year ago, I believe. So I served in United States Marine Corps from 2009 to 2013, and I graduated University of Tennessee Knoxville in 2018. During my BA study, I studied in Waseda University as an exchange student in 2017, and from there I became a US Fulbright Fellow, and I participated in TEDx Talk, and currently Honjo Scholar and studying in Kyushu University. So, as you saw in my bio, I didn't go to university right after college. So I started college when I was 22 years old, and my classmate was 17 and 18 years old when I was 22. And as you can see the pictures here, I felt lost and frustrated because I felt like I was adult and everybody else was children. And I had to start from the basic class because I forgot literally everything about school. And honestly, I hated everybody and I hated everyone because I wasn't really know what it's like to be in university. Excuse me. And as a non-traditional student, of course, non-traditional student mean that you didn't come right after high school. I was also female veterans with a minority background as an Asian American. I live in Tennessee for the first time, so I didn't feel like I was fit in. And one of the crazy thing was my teaching assistant was same age as I was. So that kind of shocked me a little bit. And I didn't know how to make friends because everybody was a different age. And of course, me being 22 is not old when I think about now, but back then it was a huge deal for me. So therefore, I decided to make a club to make friends. Because sometimes you have to make friends to let them come to you. So this is the first club that I made for veteran students in University of Tennessee. And the second is a Japanese Cultural Association, since I'm also Asian American and wanted to kind of learn more about my cultural background. So my first study abroad was UTK to Waseda University. So I was the first one from University of Tennessee Knoxville, which I made a history. And I was the oldest students in group and class. Every time when someone asked me the age, I was like, I'm a little older than you, so maybe we're not really same. But it was also a great time to meet students from all around the world. So in my group, we had a Russian, we had a Taiwanese, we have from UK, we have someone from Hong Kong, and I stay at home stay with the Russian host sister who didn't speak English. 18 years old cat who hated me, and I'm still a little scared of a cat, and host family parents who are very liberal. So they always go around the places when they have a time, and they do not have their own children, but they have about 7 to 8 host daughter or son. So some of the challenges I faced is while I was in Asia is being Asian American, in which I'm going to talk a little bit about it more in the next slide. And of course, some of the cultural differences when it comes to school and grade. And I had to deal with the Japanese culture versus American culture. So example like professor and student relationship, because back in the state, I used to call my professor first name, but in Japan, you cannot do that. And of course, there is a Saturday class, and that's something I really didn't understand. I'm still not understanding the Saturday class. And commuting was a little bit hard for me because I had to take 3 different lines for one way. So like 1.5 hours and going to the school and 1.5 hours coming to school. But it was also great cultural experience because I actually never took subway before in America, but it was first time to take subway in Asia. So on the way back to Tennessee, I got a little email from Study Abroad office in University of Tennessee Knoxville about Fulbright. So honestly, I didn't know about Fulbright back then. I didn't know how prestige it was. So I decided to give it a try. Why not? I'm on the way back to state, and I'm still in Japan, and I got an email, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try. Honestly, I applied as a backup option just in case if I couldn't find a job when I graduate. But it turned out that I couldn't find the job. I got into the Fulbright, which was I was the first one from UTK, so which I made a kind of history back there too. So during a Fulbright experience and some challenges, so I participated like Taiwan presentation. It was so much fun. And then we had, of course, the Sum of Tokyo presentation there. And TEDx Fulbright Tokyo was my highlight of experience during Fulbright experience. And of course, I was the only one from University of Tennessee Knoxville. So honestly, I didn't have anyone to giving me any information before to going in. And then even I was doing the Fulbright, no one applied to the Fulbright Fulbright Japan. So I tried to encourage people to apply, but at the same time, I was always kind of alone in my own school when it comes to Fulbright Japan. And of course, I talk a little bit about being an Asian American in Asia. So I am still having identity issue. So if you're Asian American in Asia, you're always different. So for example, you're Japanese American, you're Japanese to American, but American to Japanese. And people always have a different idea about returnee and Asian American, because some of people do not return to Japan fully, they just visiting, but it's like returnee ideas. And of course, those visiting ideas are kind of like comparing all the time. And people automatically think you know the rules. So no one actually explained to you what is going on and what happened to you. And of course, the double standards are there because you have to be better than any other international students because now you're back in homeland. And people think you are able to get scholarship because of your background, but actually it's a little much tougher for Asian American in Asia, especially when you apply scholarship. And I was no longer minority and I was now majority. And of course, when you're in America, you're Asian and you see someone else's being Asian American, you automatically become a friend because we're a minority. But in Asia, you cannot do that because you're no longer minority. So it was something that I had to get used to. And of course, as I mentioned, I was also non-traditional students and adult students, or sometimes it's called mature students. So some of the challenges as non-traditional students, which you will face as well if you decide to go other countries. But I don't think there's an age limit for America, but when it comes to Japan or any other Asian country, there's an age limit for scholarship. And the scholarship programs are usually tailored to traditional students, not for non-traditional students. So that is something you have to consider. And of course, you have to fight for stereotype and you have a different lifestyle. And applications sometimes asking you some kind of personal question and you being like, if you, let's say you want to study abroad in 22 and then you apply for Asian country in Asia, they sometimes asking you parents' informations and being non-traditional students. And if you're adult students, like that's the last thing you were thinking about. So, but it's not impossible because I'm doing okay, I think. So I think everybody can be do too. And it's never too late to start college. So I went really fast, but I'm gonna talk about what I learned from study abroad and why you should study abroad, because I'm still doing study abroad in Japan as well. So it is a chance to meet different people with a diverse background. So if you stay in Japan, you usually approach kind of like people similar to you. But if you decide to go to America, for example, you can meet Asian American, you can meet like European Americans. There is a different diverse and you can learn from them. And also help you to understand your own culture, because sometimes when you go outside of like your own land, you have to think about what it means to be Japanese. And that's the question that you never thought about before, And you can also expand your network and you can become more flexible about your life because study abroad never go as it planned. So like every time I plan something, it never worked out. So I have to change the plan and then adjust to the new the settings. So that is something that help you to learn about life. And it also make you stand out from your peer because now you study abroad and someone else does not study abroad. That means you have this cultural experience and cultural knowledge that no one else have around you. And it is the greatest way and safest way to explore the world, because when you are doing study abroad, people checking on you. But when you're working, there's not many people checking on you because you're not associated with the school or the country. Actually, you're kind of your own. And so some of the things that helped my applications was the non-traditional students and being adult students, but of course doing an exchange experience. And I was a non-Ivy League student, so that also helped me to like stand out from all those Ivy League students. And of course, we have a different background from other students. And technically everything that I hated about helped me to build a strong application. So the reason I'm putting in here is because sometimes students are afraid of going abroad because of their background. So for example, you're too old, you don't have enough budgeting, or you don't have experience, but it is possible because those background that you think it's a negative to you can help your application and make you stand out. And you could be the next person that can represent the study abroad, whatever the program that you decided to do. So some of the advice that I want to give to students from my study abroad experience is do not afraid of being non-traditional students. What does that mean is like, it is okay to study abroad when you're adult. Like I started my college when I was 22. Sometimes people do 25. I saw some students doing 30s. There's something that you have to consider when you're study abroad as adults, such as scholarship rules and limitations. But that is something that if you think in the advance, there's something that you can adjust it to. And everyone living in different time zones. So just because someone else is doing study abroad now doesn't mean you have to do right now. And it is okay to graduate college when you're 30 or 60. So, and when you're 60, the great thing about when you're going to college in 60, that means once you retire, once you graduate, you're gonna retire. So it's kind of like great experience for like, you can enjoy the life in different sense, I guess. And then take a chance and see where the wild dream can take you to. So that is it. Thank you so much. And that is my email address right there. If anyone have any question, concern, or anything, please email me. Thank you. Sorry, I went really fast.
Thank you, Yuki. Very interesting.
Wow, we have some questions. Okay.
Yes, we have some questions already. If you have any questions, please put on your question on Q&A box. Yuki is going to answer.
No. Tomoko is gonna help me with that.
Okay, there is one. Yeah, how did you pick University of Tennessee Knoxville? Was it worth living away from your hometown?
That's a good question. So my hometown is actually Baltimore, Maryland. And I chose the Tennessee when I was in the military. So I look at the United States map and I was like, where to go? And this is a real story. I'm not making up. So I just decided to drop the pen and it landed in Tennessee. Because I like to take adventures in life. So I was like, you know what? I am confused where to go next. And I don't know where to go. So why not just drop the, yeah, because, you know, when you take a test and you don't know the question to the test, that's what people do, right? C or D. Yeah. So yeah, drop the, pen, and that landed in Tennessee. And it worked out really well because Tennessee have a great scholarship and then assistant group for veteran students. So, and then they're like number 2 or number 3 in like military friendly school in South.
Well, I see. You mentioned that you didn't like Tennessee at the beginning, but I guess in 4 years, you becoming a Tennessee fan?
Yes. No, I didn't like Tennessee because I didn't understand Southern culture.
I totally understand. Yes.
And I'm not really fan of like back then. I wasn't fan of like sweet, like heavy, calorie heavy food. But like South is all about like sweet tea and the barbecue that make you feel like you have this high blood pressure somewhere. So yeah, but I had to get used. Of course, the weather is also so hot and humid. So,
but because United States is huge, it's totally different from south to north, east to west. So it's really interesting because your hometown is in the East Coast and you went down to the south.
Yes.
very, very interesting.
Yeah, that's somewhere, but I'm glad it didn't land in like, Texas, for example, because like,
I mean, Texas is
far. It's far from, because I was stationed in North Carolina, so I also had to drive to next state, and Tennessee was about 13 hours driving.
I see. Well, actually, there is next question is related to military. What is it like being a female Asian in Marine Corps?
So I was always the only one.
I can guess, yeah.
Yes, and being Asian American, you have to prove yourself that you can do it from everything else that everybody else. So there's the layer of being female first. So we have this stereotype to break as a female. And then from there, I'm Asian American. So Asian American have this stereotype of like very smart. I mean, in the academic, those are the stereotype I do not like. So I had to break that. And when I was coming into the rank where I was giving an order to someone, sometimes people look at me because I'm Asian American and being a female. So they kind of look down on me. So they was like, oh yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. But that's like, when you have to step up and said, I know what I'm talking about. So there was a lot of things that I do have to represent myself, not just being myself, but being a female and being an Asian American. But I think it was a great experience. And I am very proud of those experiences because I experienced something not many people can experience in general. And it helps me to build who I am today.
Totally understand. To prove yourself is, you have to have your confidence in yourself.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what race you are. And I totally understand everybody has to do it. Thank you. Okay, next question. Okay, what is your Japanese level? How long it will take to master other language? Any advice?
So maybe Education USA might not gonna like my answer. So close your ear a little bit. No, just kidding. So my experience, or maybe the advice that I can give it to you is sometimes you have to ignore the textbook because the textbook set you up with a certain style of what to follow and what to not follow. And for example, for myself, I think my Japanese was all learned in survival mode. So like, for example, like, the textbook say, how are you? But, people don't say, how are you all the time when you meet, right? So most of my Japanese, I was learning from my host family and then from outside, especially, when I got lost because Tokyo is huge. I'm still learning. So I think the biggest advice for me is it is okay to start from the textbook, but sometimes you have to find your own way because some people learn from the textbook, some people don't. And myself was like, I was never traditional student. So like I learned from people, like talking to people. And the biggest advice that I want to give it to anyone is do not afraid of making mistake. Because like when you think about this mistake, then you cannot move forward. So just like, we're human, we make mistake. So like if you make a mistake, just like forget about it and just move to the next.
I totally understand. I believe English or a language is just a communication, way of communication. So it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to master language, but if you can communicate well, that's good enough.
Yes.
Right. It's not on a textbook, and I'm not supposed to say neither, but I totally understand. I'm with you. Were your family supportive? What was your biggest concern starting your academic path?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I'm sorry. Were your family supportive?
Okay, so I'm not sure if people saw my TEDx talk or not, but my background information actually on TEDx, so it's like if you have a time, like, you can watch, but I do not have any family in my life. So I was always alone. So I don't need anybody's approval when I go to places to place. But for those who have a family, maybe that is some concern that you have to make them understand.
Mm.
So I think the biggest, so I saw two cases when I was doing study abroad here. And of course, when I was in America and I saw a lot of international students from Japan as well, is that type 1 is the people who comes to United States with the telling mom, like parents, and then they kind of sort of get approval. And so the best option for that is you get a scholarship. Because sometimes when you get a scholarship, you cannot back down. Because you already signed your name, so you have this designation. So tell your mom and dad, it's like, I signed the contract, I cannot move back. Like, or, and the number 2 cases is people just come without telling. So, but that's not the best option because it doesn't really work out well. So what I would do is if your parents or your family and your friends is not supportive, telling them, show them you did enough research. So like, what you're doing. And then of course, as I said, there's a scholarship help. So like, look, I got this scholarship. That means I have this possibility that I can finish this on time.
Thank you. What was your biggest concern starting your academic path at your age? You said you felt like a movie of Adam Sandler.
Yes. I swear to God, I thought it was like that because like, oh my God, when I walk into my first year classes, like everybody was like talking about like what high school they graduate, and I don't even remember my high school life because I was in the military. So I was like, and then I always have this concern about should I tell my background as like I'm not I'm not traditional students, or maybe I can just play along, say like, I'm like a same age, whatever, because sometimes people don't know how you look like if you're Asian American, they don't know how old you are. So like you're either young or old, there's no between. But yeah, those are starting from like colleges, those are really hard question for me because like, when I look around the places, everybody's younger than me. So I feel like I need to set an example, which was the pressure. But I forgot something. No matter what age you are, when you enter college, you're first year students. That means you're lost as everybody else. So you don't need to be example for anybody else. You don't need to put the pressure to yourself. So what I did instead is first year was very hard for me because I didn't have any non-traditional students friend, but that's when I actually looking for a club. And that's when I create a club because I wanted to have someone like me coming to, find me instead I find them.
Thank you. How did you find university which matches your research topic for your Fulbright scholarship proposal?
So
application?
Fulbright scholarship question, right? Okay, so
Yes.
for a Fulbright fellow, like we don't choose like the college, like so what you do is you write a proposal and send it to the organizations and they match it for you. But that's for Fulbright. But if we're talking about regular school without Fulbright, because that's, most of the people go regular route, not the Fulbright route. If you were looking for America college that wanted to research, the best advice is to, one, find your research topic, and you have to do some research, like what school you want to go. Because the United States is very big. So 2 questions comes in. Are you looking for Ivy League or non-Ivy League? And second, are you looking for city life or country life? So that's easier than dividing east to west to south and north, because sometimes it's just really hard. So if you decided for, I'm not IB person and I don't mind to go like, middle of nowhere, as long as I can do the research, that's when you started looking at the state, maybe can offer. And then you send them the email, say, hey, I'm interested in this. But there's another advice, I can give it to you, which not many people talk about in any education event that I went to. The best advice is you can send email to professor to work with them, but the best person to send email is a graduate students. Because
why? Okay.
Because they know how it like to be living, studying in that area. So when you go website, there's a master students or PhD students. And most of 9 of 10, they will not answer to you, but just to keep trying. So there's maybe 1 or 2 persons like maybe interested to help you. Because one time I emailed to one of the colleges that I was interested in, and I sent email to grad students there. And then she said, it's a great school, but living cost is bigger than what you receive as a scholarship. So that's something that school don't tell you, right? So you have those hands-on experiences from grad school students. So 1, contact the school's advisors. 2, contact graduate students. And 3, if you can do all that and then you really want to go there, then yes, go for it.
Interesting. You're right. Connecting with senpai and get tips and information is really important.
Yes.
To decide which school go to. Thank you. The next question: what was the hardest part when you have a talk next event?
I was nervous. That was the hardest part. And like, as soon as like I stood on the stage, I couldn't see anyone because the light was hitting me on the face, which was good because I didn't see it. I didn't have to see anyone. So I feel like I was alone on the stage and I was like, maybe I can do this. But yeah, I think people ask those questions is because some people have this public speaking issue. And the biggest advice for anyone who comes to me when it comes to public speech is instead of like practicing line to line, you have to like memorize kind of like idea. So like keyword, because you're going to forget everything anyway when you get nervous. So it's like, this. So that way, like if you remember the idea, then you can actually make this idea to the sentence and then you can deliver the speech. So your practice number 1, practice number 2, practice number 3 is all going to be different, but idea is the same.
I see. You look really confident on the stage.
Thank you. No, just like they play my favorite music background back there because they asked me like what was my favorite music, and then I was like anything that it's like rock is fine. So I mean I'm not really a fan of a rock, but it's better than hip hop because hip hop has a lot of bad words and I didn't want to.
They have clean versions as well.
Yes.
But I really liked your TED Talk session, and I think I twice or 3 times I've watched.
Thank you.
本当におすすめです。皆さんぜひ機会があったら please watch. Okay. Next question. Did you have any internship opportunities?
Internship opportunity, yes and no. Because yes, I was kind of internship, but no, because it wasn't officially internship. Because we started as an internship, but I have so I went to university under the kind of sort of scholarship that I received from the college, and it requires for you to be a full-time student. So and then it doesn't really allow you to do the internship, but I decided to do the volunteer internship in the student where is it called, the international student the office. So I usually give them the talk about like what to do when you do the study abroad, and then like some of the challenges, just like today's session. Like I talk about my own experience, and I help them like how to contact advisors, because sometimes the cultural differences also apply when you write an email. So like for a Japanese style, you have to like dear so and so, like you have this like kind of the greeting sentences right in the top, but sometimes you don't have to do that for other country. So it's like just get into the point, and then something to talk about, something not to talk about. So that was my internship. I work at the international students like office, abroad office.
It sounds like it's close to tutoring, tutor teacher.
Yes.
Yeah, at the center. Okay,
yes.
Thank you. What is an interesting point of your research at the university?
Which university? Because I have two. So
I think it means Kyushu.
Oh, okay. So I
currently, yeah.
Gotcha. Yes. So I do research about 1920 modern women, focusing on Hayashi Fumiko and Choi Seung-hee, or known as the Saishoki, that's dancer from Korea, colonized Korea in 1920s and 1930. So my research actually, it's like, well, generally speaking, is like talking about those new women, modern girls, and how women change the roles and images as the modernization starts. Because I support those women who go against the standard idea.
I like that. Thank you. As an adult student, was it hard to live on campus? Is there any housing options for adult students? It depends on the school, universities, and institutions, I believe. But yes. How was your case in university in not Texas, Tennessee.
Yeah. Yes. So that's another challenge is you will face as adult students, because if you live in the dormitory, because I had an option of living in dormitory, so I tried, and I didn't like it because, as I said in the challenge part, adult students have different things to worry about. So you have to worry about like how you're gonna pay for it. Sometimes people have a full-time job and those living lifestyle does not match. So depend on the colleges, actually they do separate the adult students, mature students in the separate hall or separate residency. But most adult students that I talk to, even as international students, they do one semester as the dormitory and the rest they look for apartments. So that way they can get away from the colleges. Because as an adult student, there's a lot of things to consider, because like people love a party, but they are not on age. So you will be the one who deliver the alcohol and you don't want to be in that trouble. So you're like, maybe I need to get out kind of thing. So from my own experience, I would recommend adult students or mature students who study abroad in America looking for apartment or maybe looking for places to live. And the reason I told you why you need to contact graduate students in the universities, they can help you with the where to live. Or sometimes they're the one who's graduating and looking for someone else to take apartment. So yes. As adult students, you have to live outside.
Thank you. I don't know. I'm trying to imagine that maybe if you live in a dormitory, it's like you're living with your younger sisters and brothers, like in the same house, maybe very noisy and unknowing. I totally understand. How about grad school? Are you living on campus or?
Yes, I am actually living on campus because the Itoshima campus is very middle of nowhere. So I don't have much choice, but instead I decided to I got lucky to become dormitory assistant in dormitory here. So I'm actually in charge of a 7th floor. So I control what is going on. Instead I follow. Sometimes like if you cannot change this situation, you gotta be the one who's in charge. So that way maybe like, let's change this,
I like the way you're thinking.
Don't be a follower, be a leader.
Yeah. Okay, next one. What's your plan after graduating from Kyushu University?
Actually, last week I got accepted to PhD program in New Zealand. So I applied Australia, Germany, New Zealand. Well, you probably know my personality by now after I told everyone that I dropped the pen on the map. I'm a pretty adventurous person, so I wanted to go other places for PhD, and I got lucky to get accepted in New Zealand. The only reasons I cannot go this year is because the COVID is still affected, so I will not be able to go until next year. But so my plan is graduate September. I'm gonna try my best and then get a job in Japan or America for 1 year or so, and then go to New Zealand and do the PhD. So if anyone here wanted to go to New Zealand, also contact me in an email.
It's so exciting. I would like to know where you're going after PhD, and so we're gonna look forward keep in touch.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point I have to checkpoint to like the continent I went to. So
Great.
Europe or Africa is the next one. I'm not sure.
Okay. When you apply for University of Tennessee Knoxville, do you have to take SAT course?
So being adult students, it has a good part. I said only the bad part. Adult students do not have to take SAT or ACT, but you have to have good essay. So has to be good. Like, so there's good and then there's extra good. It has to be extra good. And as international students who wanted to go University of Tennessee Knoxville, you will have to have English test. So this English test is required no matter where you go. But as adult students, if you have those, you are not required to take ACT or SAT, as long as you can approve like where you've been for past 4 years, 10 years, how long you've been out of school.
Is there any tips or advice to write extra good essay?
So be honest. Don't try to impress anyone else. Like, be honest, like what, because sometimes those essays, when it sounds like very cliche, it's like because you want to like impress someone. Like, so just like start from like piece of paper, start writing down what you did in your life, everything that you've done. And what make you exciting is what will make everyone else is excited as well. So be honest and show to your friend, because sometimes they can be very cruel and they say this is not interested at all, you know. So show to friend, and then maybe share with those friends and family around you, so that way they can like, oh, this is not you, you know, like maybe you need to fix it here and here. And the reason I don't really recommend it to show your teacher or any academic advisors is because sometimes they have those rules they always follow. And I always tell people, when you write an essay, ignore those rules, be yourself and be free. And then when you have something to work with, that's when you have to worry about those rules and those things. But be yourself. And
in the US colleges, there are essay, I wouldn't say trainer, but tutors who can check your essays. So you don't really have to worry about your grammars or texture. Texture, you have to think about it, but you don't have to worry about the grammars and the English. Just make sure your text is really decent.
Mhm.
I think that would be my advice. Okay, do you have to write an essay for Japanese graduate school?
Yes, I had to.
In Japanese?
No, actually, wait. Yes, no. Wait, I started as a research student with the Fulbright, and then, yeah, I think so. I can't remember. It was 2 years ago. I'm sorry, but it's like, like if you go to like grad school, like, cause like sometimes international track and the national tracks are different when it comes to applications. So I don't remember writing essay for my school, but I had a very intense interview. So like that's where you have to tell everything about yourself, and I'd rather choose essay versus interview because the interview is a little scary for me still. So yeah, I think you have to find the school, like look at the website, because usually they tell pretty clearly they want or not in the checklist.
Great, thank you. We still have questions. Okay. Applying to PhD programs, did you consider US programs and also Japanese programs? You said you're going to New Zealand.
Yes.
Did you consider US and Japanese?
Yes, I'll be very honest with you. Yes, I thought about US and Japanese. The reason I'm not continuing with the Japanese university is because my scholarship have restrictions. So once you're done with the school, you have to leave, you cannot go right after school. You have to leave the country, or you can work in country for certain years and then retry to college. So that kind of stopped me from applying Japanese university. And for US university, the academic calendar did not match. So like I'm gonna graduate in September, but I have to wait until next year to apply. And if with my status right now, I'm pretty floating around the places right now. So I don't have that solid residencies and home and apartments. So I was looking for somewhere that I can go right after. And since Japanese college and European colleges match with the academic calendar, so that's why I decided to apply other places. On top of that, when you apply America college, you have to take a test. And I didn't want to take a test. So that's pretty, it's a good reason for some people actually giving over some country.
No, I totally understand. I felt like I want to go back to school, but I don't want to take tests.
Yes.
I totally understand.
I was like, no test to Europe? Okay.
But I don't want to write an essay neither, so I'm not going back to school. But okay, well, I'm sorry. Next one, I'm not good at pronunciation. How to improve the pronunciation? Or it's language question. Do you have any suggestion, advice?
Pronunciation? I think you just have to talk to people a lot and then hear how people talk about it. Because like, even in America, the pronunciation is different from state to state. So like, for example, I don't know, route. Those kind of things are different from the region. So like, I think you just have to talk to people a lot. And
it's like potato, tomato.
Yeah, tomato.
Right. And then you are going to New Zealand.
Oh yeah, no, I'm studying. I mean, like I am studying like through the YouTubes. Oh yeah, following YouTube also help. Because I'm following YouTubers on the like on the New Zealand whatever study abroad. So those people's also help.
That's also true. Yeah. From online, you can study and practice.
Yes.
I believe each country has different educational system. Was it made you difficult for you to apply several countries?
Yes. It was very hard. I had to do a lot of researches. So, for example, like unlike grad school, you have to have your topic. And from there, you have to find the colleges that support your topic. So that restrict me a little bit because I study Japanese, like East Asian literatures. And for me to go abroad with the East Asian literature, abroad other than East Asia, it's very hard actually. But I just done a lot of research and see how if there is any funding and there is any grant. And of course, you pointed out, I don't know who asked, but it pointed out pretty good things is also that each country also have different scholarship rule and different scholarship requirements. So that's another thing that you have to consider. Like you look at the list and it's like, can you do it on time? And you have to be realistic. So, and the reason I chose the New Zealand is because it's similar to England. And a few years ago, I actually applied to the England University and I just didn't get it. So, I mean, another thing is like, for undergrad or grad, you just have to apply a lot of a school if you can. Because like, don't apply just one school and say, oh, I didn't get it, so I'm not good enough. It's not the case. Sometimes they don't have a budgeting. Sometimes they don't have this space that you can enter. So my rule of thumb is like apply 5 schools because you have one hand have a 5 finger, right? so like number 1, okay, it's not. Number 2, all right, let's go number 3 kind of thing. So yeah, 3 to 5 is a good advice for applying school.
Perfect. Thank you. Time is up. Thank you very much for your questions. And thank you very much for listening and providing question. I'm sorry. Let me share EducationUSA's upcoming sessions before we finish. We will be holding a session on the next Thursday, 27th, with 6 US universities, and they will be talking about unique majors and educational curriculums that US universities are offering. We are also providing a session on June 7th. There will be a Japanese Ryugaku no senpai who went to US 2-year college to 4-year university and US grad school. She's going to share her experiences and tips, followed by Q&A corner. Okay, Yuki, do you have any advice for prospective students or prospective Fulbrighters?
Don't be afraid of applying, because like if you don't try, you don't know if you're gonna get it or not. So the only way you can find is you try. And sometimes, as I said, everybody have a different time in life, where to go, what to do. It's because, as I said, everybody have a different time zone. So just because you didn't get it this year, or you're not going to get this year, doesn't mean you're not meant to be there. So if that's something you specifically want in your life in the future, keep trying. And as I said, don't be afraid to be adult students, because you're not the only one around the world. We're all here as adult students. So.
Okay. Well, Yuki-san, thank you so much for your participation, and I wish you the best luck. Also, thank you everybody for watching Education USA Lunchtime. I hope you enjoyed and gained some useful information to motivate you. Before we go, we would like to take some time to take a screenshot. I know you guys are not here, but let's take a shot with Yuki.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. I guess it's good enough.
All right, that's good enough.
Thank you, Yuki. You are the true world citizen. You're globalized, and I'm looking forward to you to talk to you again, and keep in touch. And thank you again, and hope to see you soon, everybody.
Thank you.